Are you wasting your life? Not in a dramatic sense. Not in the sense of catastrophic failure or wasted potential the way people mean it when they are being cruel to themselves. I mean something quieter than that, something harder to see. Are the days passing through you, or are you passing through them? Most people never ask this. Not because they are not intelligent enough or not thoughtful enough, but because the world around them is specifically designed to make sure they never sit still long enough for the question to form. This video is an attempt to ask it honestly, to sit with it, to see what Seneca, a man who spent 2,000 years ago writing about exactly this, can still teach us about the life we are living right now. Seneca was a Roman philosopher who lived in the 1st century. He was wealthy, influential, and by every external measure, successful. He advised emperors, he wrote plays. He had everything a person could want in that world. And yet, near the end of his life, he sat down to write a short book to his friend Paulinus about something that had been troubling him for years. He called it On the Shortness of Life. But here is where Seneca immediately does something unexpected. He does not agree that life is short. He says, life is actually long, extraordinarily long. Long enough for almost anything, if you know how to use it. The problem, he says, is not that we are given too little time. The problem is that we waste the time we are given. This is not a comfortable idea. It removes the excuse that time was simply against us. It places the question directly in our hands. If life is long enough, and Seneca insists it is, then the wasted life is not a tragedy inflicted from outside. It is something we participate in, something we choose, in 1,000 small and unconscious ways, every single day. Seneca then does something that feels almost modern. He looks around at the people in his society, the richest, most powerful, most admired people in Rome. And he asks what they are actually doing with their time. The ambitious man who gives every morning to the pursuit of status, who sacrifices his relationships, his rest, his inner life, for a position that, when he finally reaches it, means less than he thought it would. The man who spends his whole life accumulating wealth he never uses, protecting a future that never quite becomes the present. The man drowning in pleasure and distraction, moving from one sensation to the next, unable to stay still, unable to be alone with himself for more than a few minutes without reaching for something to fill the silence. All of them busy, all of them, in Seneca's view, absent from their own lives. And then he asks the question that makes the whole book worth reading. What are you saving yourself for? Think about that for a moment. Most of us live as though we have a second life waiting somewhere, as though the real living begins after the degree, after the promotion, after the children grow up, after things settle, after we finally have enough. Seneca says, there is no after, there is only now, being spent, whether or not you are paying attention. If we are honest about it, we waste our lives in 3 main ways. Seneca saw all 3 in Rome. We have simply given them different names. The first is distraction. Seneca could not have imagined the specific texture of our version. The phone, the scroll, the endless incoming stream of other people's thoughts and images and opinions, arriving before we have had a single thought of our own. But he would have recognized it immediately for what it is. Distraction is not simply wasted time. It is something more serious than that. It is the outsourcing of your inner life. Every moment you fill with noise is a moment you do not spend with yourself. And a person who never spends time with themselves eventually becomes a stranger to their own mind. The second way is busyness. And this one is more subtle, because busyness feels like the opposite of wasting time. It feels productive, purposeful. We have built an entire culture around performing it, comparing exhaustion like a badge of honor, treating rest as laziness, measuring the value of a day by how full the calendar was. But Seneca saw through this clearly. He called it preoccupation, being so consumed by tasks and obligations that you never stop to ask whether the tasks themselves are pointing toward anything that matters to you. You can be extraordinarily busy and completely absent from your own life at the same time. Most people are. The third way is the one that is hardest to see because it happens in silence. We live in the wrong tense. Either we are in the past, replaying old conversations, carrying wounds from rooms we should have left years ago, giving our present attention to things that are already finished. Or we are permanently in the future, planning, rehearsing, waiting for conditions to be right before we allow ourselves to fully inhabit the life we already have. Seneca was direct about this. He said, "Everything belongs to everyone else. Time alone is yours. And yet it is the one thing we give away most freely, to the past that cannot use it, and to a future that may never arrive." 3 ways: distraction, busyness, and the wrong tense. None of them feel like wasting a life while you are doing them. That is precisely what makes them so effective. Now, I want to be careful, because it is very easy at this point to turn Seneca into a self-help book, to take his ideas and make them into a morning routine, a productivity system, a 5-step plan for living more intentionally. That would betray him completely. What Seneca is pointing toward is not efficiency. It is something much quieter and much harder to measure. He says, spend your whole life learning how to be present in it. Not present in the way the word is used now, as a technique or a wellness practice. Present in the way that means fully, honestly, consciously here. In this conversation, in this hour, in this particular version of your life, exactly as it is, without waiting for it to become something else before you allow yourself to inhabit it. There is a philosophical distinction worth making here between existing and living. Existing is what happens by default. You wake up, the day happens to you, you respond to what arrives, you sleep. This is not nothing, but it is not the same as living. Living, in Seneca's sense, requires something active, not busy, active. It requires the deliberate turning of your attention toward your own experience. Asking what you actually think, not just what you have been told to think. Asking what you actually want, not just what is expected of you. Asking, genuinely, without flinching, whether the life you are living is the one you would choose, if you were choosing consciously. The people Seneca describes as truly alive are not the most accomplished or the most admired. They are simply the ones who are fully where they are. The person reading who is actually inside the book. The person listening who is completely with the person speaking. The person walking who feels the ground, notices the light, and is not simultaneously somewhere else in their mind. These are small things, ordinary things. But Seneca believed, and I think he was right, that the quality of a life is not measured by its extraordinary moments. It is measured by the texture of the ordinary ones. Which brings us back, inevitably, to the question we started with. Seneca wrote this book near the end of his life. Shortly after, the Emperor Nero ordered him to die, and he did, with a composure that people who witnessed it found difficult to explain. He had spent his life thinking about how to live, and so, when the moment came, he already knew what to do with it. I am not going to tell you what to do with your time. That is not what philosophy is for. Philosophy does not give you answers. It gives you better questions. And the hope is that if the question is honest enough and you sit with it long enough, something in you already knows what to do. So I will only ask the way Seneca asked Paulinus, the way I think he would ask anyone willing to be still for long enough to hear it. Are you wasting your life? Not the dramatic version of that question, the quiet one. The one that arrives on an ordinary morning, before the day begins, before the noise starts, when you are sitting with something warm in your hands and the light is coming in, and for one moment, everything is still. That version of the question, the one that already knows the answer, is somewhere inside you, waiting for enough silence to be heard. Withdraw into yourself, look honestly, and then decide.